on the website. You can go get it. So we're just saying he's connected, and we've been making these connections. Freemasonry is connected to the Roman Catholic Church, and it's also connected to Islam. We're going to move on. We got one more dealing with this, and again, this happened in 1986. Time Magazine. Pat Robertson displaying to the world the lines, Paul, the grip of a Freemason. Now, is he a Freemason? I don't know. That's the reason why I put it the way I did. He's displaying this to the world, the grip of a Master Mason, what you're raised from the dead with. Again, 1986 Time Magazine. All right, let's make some more connections. Here we have a picture of Jacques de Molay, who was supposedly the last Grand Master of the Knights Templar, which was totally a Roman Catholic order. And you know, if you know the story of them, they was in Jerusalem. They protected the pilgrims going on their trips to Jerusalem. And so we have him now, totally a Roman Catholic. Then the de Molay, which is the younger men before they're old enough to join the Masonic Lodge, they got an order called the de Molay. And you see, again, you see the swords with the Knight Templars' swords. That's the way they designed them. The Knights Templars designed them. Why would a Protestant organization, secret society, take a Roman Catholic and make him the name of their de Molay? Again, we got a connection there. We got the symbol of the Shriners is totally Islam. Every symbol that they got. So we're showing you how that all of this has infiltrated. You know, again, we read that verse of Scripture where it says, Matthew 13:33 said, the kingdom of heaven is likened to a woman that took leaven and hid it in 3 measures of meal until the whole was leavened. So we look at this, and there's lists, and there's hundreds and probably thousands of other connections. But this one, again, on the left is Kappa Sigma. Again, we have the crescent moon. We have the inverted pentagram star, the star of Satan, or Church of Set. On the crescent moon, we have the skull and bones, which is a part of Master Masons or Masons. Again, on the left-hand side of the crescent moon, we have the keys that we talked about, where the Pope has the keys that, you know, that his coat of arms always has the keys that supposedly Jesus gave to Peter. And we know that they wasn't literal physical keys. But anyway, then on the left-hand side, again, of this crescent moon, we have the Knights Templar swords.
The person who is going to be wearing these symbols, they had to make an oath in that degree, because in every degree you make another oath. Who do they make this oath to?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Isn't this oath done to Allah?
You're talking about the crescent moon, the Shriners? Absolutely. And
to be a Shriner, isn't your oath made to Allah?
Yeah, it's made to Allah, and it's made on a Quran. Absolutely, because I've got the information. I just didn't put it on. I just didn't want to spend a whole lot of time.
That's significant. It really is.
Yes, but it is. I mean, let's move on. Again, we see this as young as the Cub Scouts. We see the grip of a Cub Scout, and then right below it, the grip of a Freemason, and you see the same quality characteristics. We look at the Boy Scouts, which is the next level up from Cub Scouts. We see another connection to the Roman Catholic Church. The symbol of a Boy Scout is the fleur-de-lis, or fleur-de-lis, pronounced and spelled different ways, but that's a symbol of the Roman Catholic Church. It points, if you do some research, it points directly to the Virgin Mary. Again, the Cub Scouts, we have the wolf, and the symbol, again, the fleur-de-lis at the bottom of that. If you do some research on that wolf, you would find out that it's not as pretty as they would like for it to be. Here's another connection. Albert Pike founded the Ku Klux Klan. We see the hoods and the pointed caps. We dealt with this when Brother Mike was dealing with the Jehovah's Witnesses. The pyramid, which is another symbol of the Illuminati and Freemasonry. Then over on the left-hand side, we see an order in the Roman Catholic Church. So we see that order with the pointed hats and the white sheets and all that has been around a lot longer than the Ku Klux Klan. So again, just making connections.
Is that the Knights of Columbus?
No,
okay, it's not.
This is the Ku Klux Klan. It was founded after the Civil War. And so this is a lot of information. Yeah. So there's a lot of information there that we just don't have time to deal with. Again, Joseph Smith was a high-degree Freemason, founded the cult, the Mormon cult. There's some connections there too. All right, we got the third sound bite. You can play that now, please.
I had been told many years earlier by this Grand Druid fellow down in Arkansas that if I ever got in really deep spiritual trouble, what I needed to do was join the Mormon Church, because the Mormon Church had been started by witches, for the express purpose of giving people a place for people like me to hide out and appear to be nice, conservative, white bread Republican Christians, even though we secretly believed all the same things that witches believed. Now, that might surprise you, but believe it or not, there's plenty of documentary evidence. We go into some of it in our book on the back table called Mormonism's Temple of Doom that proves that Joseph Smith was, in fact, a warlock, the founder of the Mormon Church, and most of the early church leaders were deeply involved in sorcery. So anyway, we got into the church. We joined it. They loved us. We went through the ranks. I became an Elders Quorum president. We went to the temple. We had been told by this Druid that it would be a profoundly occult experience, and guess what? He was right. It was the high point of our occult life. We really thought we were on the right track here because we were part of this huge, powerful, wealthy church, and yet we were still serving Lucifer. It was like the best of both worlds. In fact, we had a meeting about 2 days after we were sealed with Elder Faust, who at that time was one of the 12 apostles. I think he was the low man on a totem pole. That's like the ruling hierarchy of the entire Mormon Church internationally. We got in there because we knew certain signs and words and tokens, and he told us, after a lengthy interview, he bore us his solemn testimony that Lucifer was in fact the god of the Mormon temple.
And we're back, and again, that was to remind you, yesterday we dealt with William Schneebelen, the book, Masonry Beyond Light. He's written several books. He has quite a number of DVDs. He has one entitled The Temple of Doom, which is about Mormonism. And if you heard it yesterday, he went all the way up. He went all the way up to the 90th degree, and from the 32nd degree to the 97th degree is totally Roman Catholic. And on his way up the ladder to become a satanic priest, he had to join the lodge, and then he had to join the Roman Catholic Church. So just to give you a little refreshment on what we saw yesterday. Again, we're dealing with connections. We have here the sunburst of the Jesuits. Again, it's sun worship. This is what we've been telling you. It's Baal worship. It's sun worship. And it's interesting that the flames coming out of the sunburst, there's 32 of them on there. And so some have said, well, that's a connection to the 32nd degree. Don't know that. Just happens to be there. In his service also stands for Eyes, Horse, and Set, doesn't it, Mike? And that was what we read about that. So again, we're dealing with paganism. And then on the right-hand side is the 33rd degree temple in Washington, D.C. We have the lion's head, and we have the same sunburst in this lodge. This is interesting. I just added this to show you. Again, let's start with the right-hand side. We have, this is in a church in Chicago, Illinois. It's a Roman Catholic church. It's actually got some connections to the Greek Orthodox. But here they have rebuilt the Ark of the Covenant. They have Mary sitting on the mercy seat. We have a crescent moon there, which connects to Islam. And on her breast is a huge sunburst with the wafer there, and they call it a monstrance. Is that how you say it, Mike?
Monstrance.
Monstrance. So we have Mary there, and she's in the place of deity, and we know that they're saying that she's co-redemptress. And then on the right-hand side again, making the connection that when the priest takes the round wafer, which is a sun disk, and places it in this sunburst, then they worship this. They worship this sunburst and this wafer. And in this sunburst is again the crescent moon at the bottom of it. So we have all the connections to, again, a universal religion. And it's so interesting. This is a very interesting photograph. When John Paul II died, this is it's hurtful to me because we have President Bush, who at that time was the present president of the United States, his wife, his father, former president, and former President Bill Clinton, Condoleezza Rice, they're on their knees, kneeling to John Paul, the dead body of John Paul II. So we see a very powerful, powerful religious system that can draw this many former presidents of the United States to the funeral. There was 4 kings, 5 queens, and 70 presidents present at the funeral of John Paul II. All right, this is the altar inside of the 33rd degree temple in Washington, D.C., 33rd degree altar of Washington, D.C., Bible, Quran, and a Hindu, a holy book, which I could have put, but I couldn't pronounce it, so I just left it as a Hindu, but it very, very clearly says it's a Hindu book. We have the center of the Grand Mosque in Mecca is also a black stone altar, and this is part of what the religion of Islam. So we got another connection there. This is very interesting. Jim Shaw, Extinguishing the Candle. Jim Shaw was a 33rd degree Freemason. The book, The Deadly Deception. It's interesting, very easy to read, very informative. Had been a Mason, grew up as, years in the Masonry, and they decided to take a grassroots guy and make him a 33rd degree. This is many years ago, back in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. He was taken to the temple in Washington, D.C., and went through the lodge. But God was already dealing with him. I believe he was his dentist. I believe he was having some work done on his teeth, and his dentist was a Christian, and his dentist began to witness to him. But he went on and went through the ritual, and he shares this on page 107 in this book, The Deadly Deception. You know that the Roman Catholic Church in the Mass, they believe this, what is called transubstantiation, that they bring Jesus down from heaven in his glorified body. They change him over to his flesh and blood body. They kill him, eat his flesh, and drink his blood. That's the Mass. That's the Roman Catholic Mass. It's literally done thousands of times a day around the world. The Freemasons has a similar. I didn't know this until I read this book. And as he deals with this, he says there, and I'm just picking up excerpts from it, so you can go get the book, or you can actually go online and pull this up and read it, have it for yourself. There was a large menorah or candlestick with 7 candle holders in the center of the room, with 7 candles now burning. Standing again, I said, and again, by the way, if you read the whole article, these men were dressed in monk robes. This is indeed a sad day, he says, for we have lost our master. We may never see him again. He is dead. Mourn, weep, and cry, for he is gone. Then I asked the officers to extinguish the candles and the large menorah. One by one they rose and walked to the center of the room and extinguished a selected candle and left the room. Finally, with only one center candle still burning, I arose, walked sadly to the menorah. Now, God was dealing with him because God was already dealing with him, and this was the last one that he ever did. I arose and walked sadly to the menorah and extinguished the last candle, the candle representing the life of Jesus, our most wise and perfect master. We had dramatized and commemorated the snuffing out of the life of Jesus without once mentioning his name, and the scene ended with the room in deep silent darkness.